We're having today two Nintendo Switch Lites. We haven't seen these in a while. We tend to do a lot of mods that we don't show on camera, but repairs, we don't have many in at the minute. We've got two from the same customer. They've come in for simply not working. They just don't work one day. So it's a complete mystery at the minute. Let's dive straight in. These are the two switches, and the note basically asks that if we do a video, we just tag them. So I'll make sure to tag this account. And the only note on the repairs is that it simply stopped working and they don't know if it's water damage. So I'm going to make a presumption it's both of them. The same kind of issue, they just don't work. So we've got either a yellow or the pink. We'll just do heads and tails. Yellow will be heads. And we got heads. So we'll do the yellow one first. Before possibly doing more damage as well on switches, and most consoles probably, make sure you get yourself a USB tester and test the port. Plugging in a charger, if these things are shorted, can and will destroy more chips on the board. Let's just see what this says. And there we can see we've got one broken pin here. Some of them are open line on working ones, but that one definitely isn't. Compared to a working switch, you can see on a switch light, pins 8 and 17 are always missing, and the rest match. And on the customers, we're missing pin 16, which we shouldn't be missing. So this pin 16 for 9 and 21, they're all just the VCC rail. So we should be okay to attempt charging this. So let's just see what happens on the meter. We don't negotiate 15 volts, and we get a blue screen, which is a bad CPU or RAM typically, almost always. So this one's likely going to be bricked. Looking inside, maybe someone's been in or not. We've got quite a lot of dirt and a little bit of a dent here, and a little bit of a bend here. And there's also a telltale sign of potentially, what obviously can't be, but maybe at some point I had a burnt out LCD, because there's kind of burn marks on the top, which is the LED, this is the LED ribbon for the backlight basically. Measuring the battery while it's unplugged gets us 2.7 volts, which is completely flat. So I'm just going to inject voltage from my bench and charge this battery a little bit. And with a few minutes of charging, we're now up to 3.7, which is very low, but enough to now at least just try another boot. I doubt it's going to be that, but let's just see. And it's actually just crashed sitting here as well, so maybe it still is CPU related. Yeah, that does not sound the best. And back to blue screen on reset. So it does still point to bad CPU. I think in this instance, to save time, swapping the CPU costs more than a board's worth for our labour, so it's not worth doing a CPU swap. Blue screen's almost universally a CPU or RAM issue, so I'm going to suggest the customer doesn't pay the extra to have that bit done. We could possibly replace the whole board for them, but let's leave this one for now and jump onto the other one. The pink one has a bad USB port, so we don't want to go ahead and plug anything in there, although the chances are the customer probably already has anyway. Checking the battery on this one, it's completely dead, so let's just use a fresh battery. With a new battery just held in, we don't get anything, can't get it to turn on. Probing these pins here to jumper them to boost into power on mode as well, doesn't work, so let's bench power this. Somebody's also already been in here because that USB port has been changed and obviously hasn't been done right because it's not connected. So it's already had an attempted repair, we'll just bear that in mind. We've now got the resistor that acts as a battery's thermistor, so it thinks there's a battery plugged in and the temperature's fine. And we've got the wires hooked up to simulate where the battery can be now injected. And with 4.2 volts injected, let's just press the power switch. And we want to monitor current, and as I press it, you can see there's a dead short there. So as soon as we power on, it basically shorts and turns off. So that simulates when I'm tapping there, we see a short on there, and then it turns back off. So something's shorted. Under thermal camera, when we jumper these two pins here, we can see an instant super hot spot on the CPU again. And on the back side, this is the main regulator that sends voltage to the CPU. If we short to ground to power on, you can see both the main regulator here and the voltage cores here short out. Just to test whether it's regulator side or CPU side, I've removed the inductors and capacitor. We inject 0.8 volts into here, and we get a dead short. And if we inject it on the regulator side, there's no short. We can be sure it's CPU because on the back nothing gets warm, so if these caps were shorted you'd probably see more of a heat spot in a specific area, but instead the actual CPU die is getting hot, specifically in one area, so it's definitely going to be dead CPU. That makes this one, again, not really worth fixing. We could do a CPU swap, but it's just not economical. So that's the pink one, definitely a no fix. Jumping back on the yellow, I've reflowed the whole CPU, so flux around it, warmed it all up, and if we power up, we can see it starts to boot. And it appears to work. However, I've tried this a few times and it will just crash after so many minutes with corruption on screen or go back to blue screen. So that is definitely a sign that the CPU is on its way out, or something's been caused, maybe it's been dropped and nudged. But either way, the next step would be to completely remove the CPU, reball and refit. And with our labour costs, that doesn't really make it economical. That would push it past the cost of just buying another switch light. So unless this is sentimental, it's definitely not worth doing. And you can see there, see the graphics glitches and it's crashed already. Now, these have clearly both been in already and had work done. And considering this has also got a dead CPU, I've never seen a switch light with a CPU dead more than once. And yet we have two from the same customer. So I do suspect that this damage has possibly been caused by a previous repair attempt, because there's no way the CPUs typically fail, they're fairly robust. So unfortunately that's two no fixes in this case. We haven't managed to recover either. We could continue and definitely repair them, but considering somebody's been in them, as I mentioned, I wouldn't really suggest this to the customer. It's better off in this case, unless they're sentimental, just getting new switch lights.